The modern mobile phone functions as a cognitive edge device, a pane of unfolding glass that tethers the user to a global network. To maintain this connectivity, fleets of low Earth orbit satellites now ping data directly to handsets across a mapped global grid. This infrastructure is the direct result of a 50-year corporate war. Understanding how these devices became inescapable requires looking at the corporate history of how they were forged. In the 1970s, mobile communication existed in a zero-generation state. The hardware was exceptionally heavy and remained tethered to a vehicle. Monopolies like Bell Labs controlled this vehicle-bound grid. In response, a team at Motorola began secretly building a handheld alternative to bypass their network. On April 3, 1973, electrical engineer Martin Cooper stood on 6th Avenue in New York City. He was holding a 2.5-pound battery-powered prototype known as the Dynatac. Cooper placed the first mobile phone call to Joel Engel, head of cellular research at Bell Labs, to confirm that Motorola had beaten them to a functional handheld device. Cooper's public demonstration signaled a shift. Mobile innovation would be defined by a series of high-stakes corporate rivalries. On January 1, 1985, the UK's first commercial cellular call was made on the Vodafone network. Early access was restricted. The devices weighed 5 kilograms and cost £1,400, keeping mobile communication an expensive luxury. In December 1992, a secondary disruption began to move the industry away from a voice-only model. Software programmer Neil Papworth used a desktop PC to send a 2-word message, "Merry Christmas." While voice calls remained the primary product, this first message hinted that the network could evolve into a broader data pipeline. By 1994, the telecommunications industry began to merge with personal computing. The IBM Simon was the world's first proto-smartphone. Placed next to a modern device, its size is striking, yet it featured a touchscreen and stylus. Despite these innovations, the Simon failed to find a market, largely due to a battery that only lasted 1 hour. At the turn of the millennium, mobile hardware manufacturers began absorbing digital imaging technology. In 1999 and 2000, Kyocera and Sharp released the first phones with integrated cameras, effectively giving the cellular network eyes. The 1990s demonstrated that being the first to invent a feature did not guarantee survival if the hardware couldn't support the execution. By 2006, hardware manufacturers were attempting to remove the final anatomical hurdle, the physical keypad. The LG Prada was the first mobile phone to feature a capacitive touchscreen. It removed the physical keypad in favor of a clean glass front. While LG led with the hardware, Steve Jobs and Apple introduced the iPhone in January 2007, shifting the focus to software. Apple adopted the capacitive touchscreen and combined it with a superior software ecosystem, changing the rules of the industry. Hardware design was no longer the primary differentiator. Control over the software platform now dictated which companies survived. By 2011, the casualties of the smartphone revolution became clear, starting with the former market leader, Nokia. In a memo known as the Burning Platform, Nokia CEO Stephen Elop admitted that the company had failed to transition to a software-led ecosystem. This line chart tracks Nokia's market share. It shows absolute dominance through the early 2000s, followed by a sharp decline beginning in 2007. As Nokia's share crashes to the bottom, iOS and Android market shares rocket upward to fill the gap. Nokia's collapse illustrated a recurring theme in telecom. Past dominance offers no protection once the industry shifts to a new software paradigm. The current state of mobile technology is the result of 50 years of relentless hardware absorption and software competition. The heavy brick phones of the 1970s have been replaced by glowing panes of glass that process data beamed directly from space. The device has evolved by consuming the functions of the camera, the computer, and the physical keyboard. It survived 50 years of corporate warfare by acting as a technological apex predator, absorbing every other tool until it became the one device we could no longer live without.